Great words, great words. You know, it's we're all in this together. There's a lot going on in here, and there is hope, and I know God's going to help us through this. So I applaud you all for being here today. You're taking the first step. You're getting yourselves educated, and that's so important. There's a lot of stuff going on out there. There's a lot of unscrupulous people out there who would want to prey on other people's misfortune. So it's important to get educated and find out what's real, what's myth. So that's our goal today. If I haven't introduced myself already, I am Frank Lavra. Me and my wife and Jacob, we've been going to St. Luke's here for quite a long time, and now Hope Spring is our church. So we live right down the street over here off 535. We live in the community. We know what's going on in this community because we're part of it. Like Bill, we purchased a home in 2005. If I was to sell it today, we would be a significant loss for us. And at this point, fortunately for us, we're not going anywhere. We look at it now as our home. It's not an investment. It's a home for us. If it was an investment, it's probably the worst investment I ever made. So at this point, it's about moving forward. What we have today, the resource tables out here is once we go to our breakout sessions, we're going to have a legal discussion over here, legal questions and answers, credit consumer counseling back here. I'll be talking about some of the real estate aspects, any real estate questions you might have, and then Caroline will be talking about the financial solutions, loan modifications and things like that. So as we go through this, this will all kind of make sense. If I could ask you, let's kind of hold our questions towards the breakout session. We've got 4 presenters here, and if we can, I think a lot of the questions you're probably swimming in your head right now, hopefully we'll answer. If we don't answer them, write them down, save them for the breakout session. Then you're going to be able to get a much more pointed one-on-one discussion with one of our experts. Our exhibit tables out here, we've got consumer credit counseling, Unity reverse mortgages, which is a great option, maybe a great option for our seniors, 62 and older. Share ministry, which is a wholesale food ministry for people who are truly struggling. This is an option. It's a great way to eat, to get food. It's important. We've heard the question. I hear this a lot in my business. Frank, do I make a house payment or do I put groceries on the table? Well, it's pretty simple. You got to feed your family, and then we've got to go and figure out what we do with the house in that situation. A lot of other community resources out there. So please take advantage of that. Walk through those tables. Grab whatever you need. Come to see one of us if you have a question on any of these things. So. The other thing too, I don't know if all you guys saw the gold cards that we had up at the front. This is some feedback that we would like from you. Likewise, we are going to be doing follow-up workshops. So we've done this with an unemployment workshop that St. Luke's has been doing. We found out that from that initial workshop, we've had a lot of follow-up things, resume writing, interview process, job search, things like that. Workshops that we're able to bring in experts from the community to help educate ourselves. So if there's a couple spaces in here for you to circle what you'd like to see us do next, or if you want more information, certainly fill those out, leave it on one of the back tables or towards the front. That'll help us find out what the needs of our communities are. So with no further ado then, let's go ahead and start. I'm going to talk to you about the real estate market. I am a professional realtor. I've been practicing in this area for 4 years. I know a lot about what goes on. We dealt with the short sales and the foreclosures, working with both sellers and buyers. So I'm going to show you some of my hopefully expert information that's going to help you understand what's been going on. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about what's happened with the real estate market and go to our first slide here. So one thing to remember about real estate, you always hear it local, local, local. Every community is different. There's a lot of information out there about what's happening at a national level, what's happening in the state of Florida. But what's really important is what's going on really in your neighborhood. What we're going to find is Belmere is going to be different than Orange Tree, and Orange Tree is going to be different than Summerport or Lakes of Windermere. So to really understand the value of your home, because really that's what's going to be at the crux of this whole problem, is what is your home worth today, and depending on what your equity position is, then the various options are going to be available to you. So one of the things we do, and I do every day, is analyze data, and kind of an occupational hazard of being in engineering for 20 years, I do a lot of charts and graphs, so I apologize straight up front. If I bore you with numbers and charts, bear with me. Hopefully there's some good information, you'll get through it. But one of the things, we took a community over in the Dr. Phillips area, Cypress Landing, and we did a 10-year study on it. I would love to have gone back further, but the data just isn't available on our MLS system. But if we go back 10 years, we see where homes were maybe selling at $100 a square foot. We normalize to dollars per square foot because if you've got a 3,000 square foot home that's selling for $300,000 and a 2,000 square foot home that's selling for $200,000, you can't compare sale price. What you have to do is compare what is the dollar per square foot. So that helps us normalize the data and kind of smooth things out. So as we look at this, we'll see that we started at $100 per square foot. You'll see some variances in here between a high and a low dollar per square foot. A lot of that has to do with the features and amenities, the location of the home, the size of it. Does it have a pool? Does it have a 3-car garage? Does it back up to a road? Is it on a pond? These sorts of things will change the values of a home. You know, so you will see some noise in this chart. It's not a smooth chart, but you can see what the average is doing. Well, what we see, historic appreciation for real estate is 3 to 5% a year. That's healthy. That's a good, healthy market. If you can get 5% a year in a real estate investment, that's considered good. And historically, that goes back, 20, 30, 40 years if you look at the charts. What we see happen, and that's pretty much what was happening here until about 2004, then we get into our real estate bubble, and we go from $120 a square foot to over $200 a square foot very, very quickly. That type of return is probably 30%, 35% year over year for a couple of years. Well, we hit our peak and prices start to drop. And of course, everyone's aware of what's happened with our financial crisis, what's gone on with the banks and whatnot. The housing is pretty much at the center of that as the housing market collapsed, as the credit market collapsed. It's just kind of rippled down to everything else. So if we look at it, taking this chart, at the very end here, which is probably in August of 2009, we're probably down, probably at least 40%, from where our peaks were. So, had you bought in here and trying to sell down in here, of course, you're going to be upside down. And therein lies the problem that makes it difficult in doing real estate. If we go on to the next slide, so this is just one neighborhood. What we're going to see is every neighborhood is different. If we go on to the next slide, this is another community up in Ocoee, Windermere border, Cross Creek. And again, some historic data going back to 1999. Pretty flat, almost maybe a negative kind of movement here for a couple of years. Step up, I can't explain why there was a step up. Maybe a new community came online close by, kind of drove prices up, but it's very clear. Again, the data is, historic data is pretty clear. We understand what has happened, maybe not why. But then we see the big increase from 2003, going from $90 a square foot to $190 again. It doubled. We see it double in just a matter of a couple of years. Unfortunately, what goes up sometimes must come back down. And in this particular chart, towards the end of 2008, we see that we're back to maybe a 2004 pricing level. And the other thing to note here is we don't see anything plateauing, so maybe it's still moving down. If we go on to the next slide, this is Orange Tree, right across the street from Dr. Phillips area, the Restaurant Rose community. And again, we're looking at historic performance, pretty consistent growth, and then of course we spike. And again, we see these differences here might be because pond front versus something, golf course, again, the features of the home. But again, $200 a square foot seems to be the peak, and then we drop down now maybe to $130 a square foot. Maybe a little flattening out here. It's hard to say. Again, we won't know until time passes and we can look at the historic data. If we go on to the next slide, Lakes of Windermere. Now this is a community actually right here in our area. We go right down 535 and Overstreet. And this is a brand new community that came online in 2003 and continued to be built through 2006. So as the new homes are being built, the new home prices are going up, as are the resale prices, and going from $100 a square foot to maybe $180 a square foot. And then, of course, the quick slide down, The thing about this slide that I would note is maybe, since early 2009, maybe we're seeing a plateau here. Maybe we're seeing where prices have kind of reached a floor. The thing to note on this floor is below even what they first started building that community out. And you'll see this in a couple other communities too. What happens now, one of the things, the dynamics is happening, a lot of foreclosures are coming onto the market. Maybe 40 or 50% of the homes that were purchased in 2004, 5, 6 were bought by investors. Those homes are now vacant. Those homes are now being foreclosed on and coming back to the market. The banks, their strategy today, if they look at something like this at maybe $80, $85 a square foot, they'll bring the home on the market at $70 a square foot and create a feeding frenzy. And it's quick. I mean, in a matter of a couple days, they'll have 4 or 5 offers on the home. It will get bid up to about $85 a square foot. So it's kind of a little bit of a game. The banks and the lenders are doing this because they don't want to hold on to this inventory any longer. They just want to get it sold quickly. So that's kind of what the strategy is. So what happens then is we're starting to see this plateauing effect, and we certainly see it in this community and a couple other communities. Is this the bottom? I don't know. I wish I had a crystal ball. I wish I could say, yep, this is the bottom, and starting tomorrow we're going to see appreciation. Experts don't think it is the bottom. It may be a bottom, and maybe we're going to be at this long plateau for a while. One of the things we see is there's a lot of shadow inventory, a lot of foreclosed homes out there that have not come to the market yet. And that's what's really frustrating for us as practitioners in this business. We'd love to see us hit the bottom, and then we know, okay, put everything on the market, let the prices hit their bottom, and then we know, okay, we're done. And now we've got this slow growth moving forward. That's not happening. What's happening is they're bringing them on, and maybe it has something to do with the way they're working their books quarter to quarter, and maybe they're only going to take so much loss this quarter and so much loss next quarter. I don't know why this is happening, but it is happening. So the thought is we probably will be in a sustained period of maybe stabilization. Hopefully we stabilize. Hopefully we don't go down any further.